All right. So good morning, my people. How are you today? We're so happy to have you once again. This is the concluding part of our session on getting started with cloud computing. And you will agree with me that it has been a long journey of wonderful session of learning about cloud computing. We've had two resource persons, and Solomon is the final resource person who started with us last week. We could see clearly that he was a professional and is still a professional. And today is the concluding part. And I wish everybody the best of luck as we listen to him again. We will announce to you where all the recordings are in the new year so that you can all go there and watch over and over again. Some of us will work tirelessly to make sure that this happens. So please welcome with me Solomon and G as he leads us in a new session today, the final session. Let's put our hands together for him. Solomon, over to you.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us again this morning. So before we proceed today, we're actually going to do a recap of what we learned last week. So we can actually proceed after that. So I don't know if anyone can really come up and say exactly what we discussed last week concerning cloud computing in terms of benefits and every other thing we discussed. Can anyone just give us a recap on that? Thank you. Okay.
Good morning, sir.
Morning.
Mr. Solomon, thank you so much. Last week we discussed about a lot of things, but you really buttressed on how the cloud can be beneficial in avoiding technical difficulties that companies will experience if they try to set up their private data center, where you have rats and some pests that might be wanting to take down your network. You would have a lot of measures you have to put in place. And if you are setting up your own private data center, but in the cloud, they do all the networking for you, and you just come and put your systems in the cloud, and it makes it so much more easier than trying to run your own private data center. So aside that, you also mentioned that the cloud is very beneficial for businesses who need agility to scale quickly. The cloud can be a very, very good resource for that. And the cloud is one of the best places to get compute resources in the shortest period of time for your business to be able to compete with the with your other business in the marketplace. And I think that was those are the two major points I was able to take out of the last week's class. And there were a number of other things, but these were the ones that really resonated with me over the past few days. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Can any other person say something about our last lecture? Any other person? Can anybody discuss the benefits of, we discussed the benefits of cloud computing over having your own data center, private data center set up. So I don't know, can anyone just discuss in terms of make comparison? Let's understand, let's know the reason why the reasons why we should prefer cloud computing instead of setting up your own private data center. Can anyone discuss that?
Hello, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. One of the benefits of going using all those cloud computing is because of the infrastructure involved. Now, if you are building your own, you have to have all those pipe doing everything. But when you have cloud computing, all you just do is just the platform is already made for you. It's already there for you. All you just need to do is just to put in your details. Thank you.
Okay. Any other person?
Yes, Mr. Solomon. I think another thing you mentioned was the epileptic power supply we have in Nigeria. It will make it very difficult for somebody to set up a data center because your cost for electricity will be very high. As opposed to AWS or Azure, their cost for electricity is relatively low. And also, the staffing of CCIEs or CCNPs, people that are certified network experts, will be very expensive, especially if you want to pay them in Naira when their dollar market rate is really expensive to staff, to have those people on staff for your private data center to work. The expenses are too much, and it doesn't make sense for a private data center to be set up when you have a cloud.
Okay. Okay, one final person before we go ahead.
Yes, we are back from Ikeja.
Okay.
Please come.
Yes, one of the things that I so much appreciated was the issue of the careers in cloud computing. I think there were about 7 or so of them. We had cloud architect, cloud engineer, cloud security specialist, data engineer, cloud administrator, cloud solutions architect, and cloud support engineer. And I think we went further to talk about how to start a career in cloud computing. This is from Maiduguri. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much. So, any other person before we proceed? Does anyone have anything to say?
Yes, from Ikeja we have.
Okay.
The previous discussions, we are told that cloud computing, it's intelligent enough that if there are so many people in a particular server, we moved to the people automatically to the server that has fewer people of users. And there's what web farms that it all depends. One can use about a server, or some companies can use several servers. And we have private, like UNICEF, you give an example of UNICEF. Then we have that private is just like when you have your private car, it's exclusively for your own personal use. No other person is allowed to use it. But when you have public, that is, it's likely to transport vehicles like BRT, that is in Lagos, that we have people who can use, irrespective to far you have your money. It is not exclusively for you, it's for general use. And the servers, they has a limited number of memory and a limited number of space that you cannot exhaust in the space. Likewise, the memory. You don't need to upgrade for any reasons. As the usage, then that is how you can write as many code as possible. They are not restricted in any way. And there's no way of you breaking walls to run your cables in order to make your
Okay.
And we have terminals. So you don't need to do all those things. These things are automatically done, and it can be done within a very shortest time. You don't need to worry yourself much.
Okay. 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 Thank you very much. Thank you very, very much. So I think we really have a good understanding in terms of the basics, and we have a good understanding in terms of the foundation and the benefits of cloud computing. So we're actually just trying to do a recap so that from there we can actually proceed. You know, there was a question, questions kept on coming in terms of security. So I think we discussed a little bit in terms of security, but I think one of the major challenges when it comes to cloud computing, it's security. Like if you're hosting data, if you're deploying data, hosting data on a multi-tenancy platform, there are certain issues that may arise. But like I said, when it comes to security, it's actually a very big topic where we need a like 2 whole days or 3 days to actually complete that. But you just put it in mind that making up your mind, if you say, oh fine, I'm going with cloud computing based on the benefits, like I can deploy a cloud server that can handle large amount of data in less than 20 to 30 minutes. You understand? While configuring a physical data center to handle the same thing might take you weeks, or if not weeks, months or something. And the cost is really out of this world. So I think that's one of the major reasons why you should always consider using a cloud server. So I don't know, we're going to discuss a bit concerning the security aspect too, because one of the key things when deploying your data on a cloud, on a server, because you might not be doing it for yourself. You might be you might be a consultant working for an organization, setting up their server for them. So one of the key things they will ask is our data actually safe where you're dropping it? Because number one, you don't even know where you're keeping it. The server might be located somewhere in Amsterdam or China or anywhere in the world. You understand? So the first thing they ask is how hope our data will not be compromised. You understand? So that's a very, in fact, every reasonable client will always ask, please, this thing you're setting up for me, hope our data will not be compromised. Okay, so there are several things you need to consider in terms of data security and in terms of even data safety too. Yeah, the last time we discussed something like data backup or mirroring. It's still the same concept in terms of preservation of data. You understand? I'll just do a recap on that when we talked of data backup and stuff. When you're setting up a cloud server, one of the first steps, because this course is to make you proficient in cloud computing. So when setting up a cloud server, the first thing that should come to your mind is data security and data preservation. Because wherever you are actually deploying this your cloud solution, the first thing you need to consider is how do you implement certain security features so that at the end of the day, because you as a professional, you have, let's say, for example, you have engaged a client to say, oh, it is best for you to deploy your assets online or your data on a cloud server. So you are going to take liability if anything happens to their data. So the first step in terms of setting up a cloud solution is to ensure the security and then the preservation of data. How do you ensure the security? Because you are, for example, you're dealing with a multi-tenancy platform. Multi-tenancy simply means like multiple people are on that particular platform, because most of these companies like AWS and DigitalOcean, they have a lot of users on their platform. So how do you secure the data on this platform, on this cloud platform? So the first thing that should come to your mind are certain security features and measures. You understand? Very soon we'll look at how to set up a cloud server and then put certain things in place so that to avoid certain vulnerabilities. You understand? But that security should be one of your major concerns, because if you deploy, let's say for a big organization, you throw their data on a cloud server, if it is compromised, there will be a lot of issues. Let's say you decide to set up a platform for a hospital where you know one of the core priorities of the hospital is confidentiality. Now, you're telling you discuss with the hospital management and you say, oh, instead of deploying your patient's data on a local server, let's deploy it on a cloud solution so that, number one, you can easily work like in terms of sharing of data, so that the management or whatever, no matter where they are, they can easily access the hospital information and make use of that information. So you encourage them now to say, oh, let's use a cloud solution. But at the end of the day, if that data is compromised, patient's data, it's going to be terrible. So certain measures will have to be taken in terms of security. And number one is internal compromise. Because most hacking attempts mostly are insider jobs, in the sense that when it comes to your data, either locally or even on a cloud platform, the first thing you need to do, there must be a structure. You must have a structure in terms of who has access to this, who can do this, and who can do that, so that you're able to manage exactly those who have access to this system, and then set up an authorization platform so that you can say, okay, this person can do this, this person can do this, this person can do this, based on your trust level and how long you have worked with these people. So that's one of the first ways to avoid things like hacking. Insiders, you need to know exactly who you are working with, what they have access to, and what they are exposed to. Because I tell you, if you recommend a cloud solution for a client and their data is compromised, you will be in trouble. You will be in trouble because you will be the first accused. That's just the truth. You understand? So such measures, you need to take such, that's the first thing you need to recommend to your client, who has access to this data. That's number one. You understand? Then number two, there are certain, before setting up your cloud server, there are certain things like the firewall, so many other structures you need to be sure that these people have in place. And make sure that the server is open to updates in terms of security updates. You understand? Because security updates is more of like a daily thing, where as soon as maybe the operating system provider, they notice any vulnerability on their platform, they immediately write an update and then automatically upload to the platform. So you need to be sure, you need to make sure that the application is actually open to certain updates. And then for the local system, which you're also using to access that particular server remotely, you also have to be sure that you have certain malware and antivirus and stuff installed on that system. Because there are some viruses that can be installed on your system. They track every keypad on your system. As soon as you type, they track, and so they can actually steal your username and steal your password from there. So you need to be very sure you have all the latest updates of your anti-malware and antivirus systems on the system you're actually using to access the remote server or your cloud server. And then for most clients I've worked with, we normally advise them to disable the USB ports. Let's say on the system where you're using to access the cloud server, you advise them to disable the USB ports. You understand? Because most viruses are actually introduced into a system through the USB ports. So most clients, you advise them to disable that. Okay. So outside that, there are other procedures you also follow in terms of what we call a two-factor authentication. So mostly to avoid any data compromise, you use a process called a two-factor authentication. Two-factor authentication is either before any user logs into your cloud server, there must be a notification, either a code or an OTP is sent to a particular phone number or a particular email. So it is that phone number and email that we authorize that access. So that's one of the safest ways you can actually protect your system, your data. Always ensure that there's a two-factor authentication. Whoever is trying to log into that platform must get authorization from someone. So the platform will automatically send an OTP or a message or whatever to a user to authorize that access. Okay. So these are very powerful measures to ensure security on your platform. You understand? And most of these platforms, they have every form of data exchange is actually encrypted. You understand? Let me explain that to you. When when communicating with a server, a remote server, the local system which you are using to communicate with that remote server is called a client. Why that remote system is called the server? So you're dealing with a client-server exchange. So the client makes a request to the server and the server responds back. So it's like a pipeline, a stream of information that is being transmitted from the client to the server. Okay, so within that process, that pipeline where data is being transmitted from the client to the server and backwards, everything there is encrypted. So even if a hacker hacks into that pipeline, whatever you would retrieve will make no sense to you. You will not be able to read it. Because that request or that client request to the server is encrypted such a way that it is when it gets to the server, it is decrypted and the server now interprets it. So any compromise along that way, along the pipeline, between that communication between the client and the server, any compromise, no matter the data you steal, you will not be able to use it because you will not be able to decrypt it and understand the communication between these two platforms. So that's another very, very good way to ensure security. So when you're setting up, mostly they ask you what encryption framework do you want to use? You understand? But mostly I just advise you to leave the default. The companies know the best encryption mechanism for you to use. You understand? So it's best you just leave it at the default level. Okay. So that way your data is protected between your client and server. You know that it is secured. No matter who breaks into that platform to steal, even if you steal the data, it makes no sense. It will be completely unreadable to whoever hacks into that platform based on the fact that the data is encrypted. So, for example, what they call encryption, you might see a name as, let's say, user, which is spelled as USER. But when it is encrypted, it might be XXXXYY 1 2 3 4 5. You won't see it in plain users. But when it gets to the server, it is decrypted and it comes back as users for the server to interpret and then send response back. So it's a two-way thing. When the server is sending the response back, it is still encrypted. And then at the client level, it is decrypted back. So setting up your server, you need to select a very good encryption mechanism. But I advise you leave it at the default, because the users, the owners of those platforms, they actually know the best encryption mechanism. So just leave the default and then move on from there. Okay, so these are a few ways you can actually set up security on your platform to ensure your data is protected. Because if the data cannot be protected, then there is no need putting the data on a cloud platform. So the core of deploying your data on a cloud platform is security. Because if, like I said, like for example, hospital now, if their data is compromised, it will be terrible, because you will see all their patients, you will see all the ailments they are suffering from. And you know, hospital is confidentiality. Most patients don't want people to know what is wrong with them. You understand? But if the platform is compromised, everything is stolen, and these hackers can use it to blackmail that particular hospital. And then you, who is a cloud computing consultant, will be in serious trouble, because you failed on your own part. So these are the procedures you really, really need to take to ensure that your system is secure. No, I'll still go back again. Two-factor authentication, your encryption mechanism, authentication, authorization, the users who have access to your system. You understand? So these are things you need to really, really put in place to ensure that your system is actually secured and their data is protected. And then, just in case if the data is compromised or whatever, you should have a backup so that it can also be restored instantly and your client system can come back to service immediately. So I don't know if is there any question?
If you have question, you can raise your virtual hand.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Anga.
Yeah,
we have someone that has a question from American Center, Lagos.
Okay.
Yeah, good morning, sir.
Morning.
Yeah, quick one. I want to ask on that encryption that you talked about. I've seen instances where hackers also have a means to decrypt. So does it mean one needs to set up all these apparatus, to guide against the data theft, or you just have to choose one out of all? Thank you. That's my question.
Yeah, like I said, these are you can't just set up one. You have to use all these mechanisms. You understand? You must set up all these mechanisms. You can't just say, oh, by default, encryption is enabled. You understand? But like I said, always ensure updates. You understand? When you have updates on your system, it's actually very difficult for these hackers to break through, because the developers, the owners of these platforms, they always come up with new solutions. As soon as they notice, there's what they call vulnerability testing. They do it weekly or monthly. You understand? Where they test the vulnerability of their systems. They bring in highly experienced hackers to check for vulnerabilities on their system, how people can penetrate. As soon as they notice any vulnerability, immediately they create an update for it, and then they close that loophole. You understand? So you ensure that your system is always enabled for updates. You understand? So that no matter the new techniques these hackers come up with, there's always an update to counter it. You understand? So all these measures, you have to put them in place. You understand? You have to ensure the encryption and decryption. You ensure the two-factor authentication. You ensure users are authenticated and authorized at different levels. You just need to ensure, because you don't know where the compromise will likely come from. So you just have to ensure you have your system is really hacker proof, or else if your data is stolen, it will be really bad. Let's say, for example, at INEC, where they have all the registered users on their platform. If their data is stolen, it will be bad. Some politicians can decide to steal it and use it. You understand? It will really be bad. So such systems, you need to ensure solid, you employ solid security mechanisms to ensure and avoid data theft. Any other question? Any
Oka,
question?
do we have anyone from Oka? Ikeja.
Sorry, ma, we don't have any questions. So.
Okay, thank you. Makodi? Joss. You can ask your question, Joss.
Sorry, ma. From Joss, we don't have any question.
Okay. Someone was raising hands from Joss.
Okay.
So
there's no more question. Then we'll still discuss a bit about the security, and then we proceed. Yeah. So once you're setting up a cloud platform, these are some of the procedures, like I've said, that you need to take to ensure that your data is secure. Like I said, data security is the most important, because there is no reason for storing data on the cloud platform when you know it can be stolen. There's no reason for doing that. You understand? So those are the major things. And one of the major issue of cloud computing is the multi-tenancy nature of cloud computing, and practically the sharing of virtualized resources. You understand? When you talk about multi-tenancy, like most of these platforms, they tend to, they have a lot of users, and most of these users share virtualized resources. So to an extent, that can also expose your platform to certain vulnerabilities. You understand? But employing some of these measures, employing them will really go a long way to help you secure your data. So no more question. If there's any question, if there's no question, then we move to another section. I expect questions when it comes to security. Like I said, it's the most important, aspect when it comes to cloud computing, because you're managing a lot of data, and these data are highly sensitive data or information. So I expect questions, because you cannot go and set up a system or a structure where tomorrow you wake up, the data is compromised or the data is stolen. Because in the business environment, you have a lot of competitors. You have people who are looking out to say, oh, this person is competing with me. I want to, they can employ hackers to see if they can steal information, to get more in terms of business advantage and stuff. So it's it's a very important topic in cloud computing. So I expect more questions.
Okay, my hand is raised. Can I go ahead and ask my question?
Okay, go on.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yes.
Okay, so now that we are taking you're teaching us how to take precautionary measures for protecting your data and of course storing your data on the cloud. What happens in the event that the data is stolen? Is there any medicine after death? Say, for example, this issue of maybe the example you gave about hackers getting into the database of a hospital. If the data is stolen, is there any way that it can be retrieved and destroyed? I think can you track it just in the event that these guys are doing damage to you? Can something still be done in that kind of scenario?
Okay.
That's my question.
Okay. The truth is, once data is stolen, now it depends on the hacker that is stealing this data. Because like when a data is stored on a platform, for example, if my name is Teso Solomon, that is how you see it when you try to access it on your client's system. But at the back end, at the database level, it is not stored like that. At the database level, it is encrypted. It is stored in a coded format. So even if a hacker is able to steal that particular data, they may not be able to decrypt it to retrieve exactly what is on that database. So that's number one. So if they're able to steal your data, like I said in our last lecture, and I repeated it when we started, when setting up a cloud platform, there's what you call mirroring, backing up your system. You understand? You have you either do it weekly or daily or hourly, anyhow you want to do it, depends if you can afford the cost, where your data is being backed up. So as soon as there's a data compromise, if they steal your data and maybe you end up losing data on your platform, you just get the mirror, your last update, and then install it back, and your system is up and running. You understand? But whatever is stolen, I doubt most hackers will not be able to decrypt it back to plain readable language for them to be able to understand what is in that database. Because it is, if you see anything you see in plain English, that is not how it is stored in the database. In the database is a different thing entirely. It is stored in codes. So that is just the thing. You just pray if your data is stolen that the hacker will not be able to bring it back to plain language to actually understand what is actually stored in your database. But the key to it is you're able to get your system up and running because you have so many users who are connected, who are using your platform. So the key to restoring your system back is having a backup or a mirror of your database so that whatever the hacker has done, you're able to counter that, reinstall your database, and your clients can still continue to access their data. And then you try to see where that vulnerability came from and then make updates and ensure it never happens again.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Solomon.
I can see your hand is up. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I wanted to just inquire. So in this day and age of decentralized working, where people will come in, from home, work from home, and then use their laptop to access the company's systems online and get into the company's intranets. How can we then, what policies can be put in place to ensure that the devices that are being logged into the intranet are not external devices that are not permitted, or even employees of the company? What policy can we have? I think you mentioned multi-factor authentication, which is a very great option, but I also wanted to know if there are some other policies that can be put in place to ensure that the people that are getting into the company's cloud are authenticated. Yes, sir.
Okay. There are when there are some platforms that are private cloud platforms. Which simply means before you access the company platform, you must have a VPN installed. So for any system to access the company platform, there's a VPN installed, and the VPN is set up. This is the cloud platform is set up to accept certain IP addresses. So anything that is not from any IP address that is not listed, or there's what you call whitelisted and blacklisted IP addresses. Anyone that is not whitelisted is blacklisted. Okay, so these are measures you take. You just set it up on the platform. Once the user comes, even if they like, they should in fact, there are certain VPNs you cannot install on your system except you get certain authorizations and certain username and passwords. So these systems which the users can, let's say they work remotely, they use to access the company's database servers and stuff. They install these VPNs on them and set them up for them. You understand? Once you don't have that VPN, you will never get access to the company platform. So that's what all these companies do. There's a startup I recently did a design for, and I set up their whole systems for them. They work remotely from home and stuff. So that's the same procedure. I just installed the VPN, configured it for them, and gave them the system. There's no system, there's nowhere. If you like bring any other system, it will not connect. You understand? So by employing the VPN, it makes it automatically private and secure. And then you need to have a certain level of authorization and let's say authentication and authorization. Even if they're able to log with a VPN, there are certain access level each of them should have. So you can classify them based on roles. This is an administrator, this is a editor, this is and stuff like that. So once you classify them and break them down into these different roles, they're able to do you the company, let's say the top company management might be the administrators, while the other staff who work remotely and stuff might just be basic things they can do, so that even if they decide to compromise the system, even with their VPN installed and stuff, they should be able to, the damage they should cause should be extremely limited. Now, I'll give you an example. A client called me yesterday and said he's one of his staff that used to work with him ran away with their username and password for their cloud platform. You understand? So when you don't follow the right procedures or you don't take precautions in setting up your system, you will have this kind of issues. I'm telling you, he called me yesterday, and I proffered a solution to him, because number one, when setting up a cloud platform and you allow one staff to just do it and use his private details to set up that cloud platform, he will hold you to ransom tomorrow. And that is what is happening to this client. The guy just disappeared with the login and password and is asking for a lot of money. So he called me like, oh, what can we do? Can we hack and retrieve it back? I said, it's almost impossible, because the truth is the account was actually registered with the guy's details. No cloud platform will allow you access to that system, because it is that person that registered it, the credentials of that person, that is the person they will contact and say, this person is asking for access. What do you think? So that account is gone. You understand? So this is internal compromise. He was a staff yesterday and he's not a staff today, and he decided to hold the company to ransom. You understand? So these are certain things, procedures you need to take when setting up a cloud platform for your client. You need to avoid a lot of things, a lot. Oh, the domain or the registration email should be an email that 5 or 6 or 7 people can have access to, and nobody can change the password without the MD's authorization and stuff like that. When you do it that way, nobody can run away with your account. The way this guy has escaped with the account is gone. The website everything is gone. Their emails, everything. He was panicking because the guy is requesting a lot of money. You understand? So these are just the certain things you need to do. No system outside can access a cloud platform, like a company cloud platform that's private to staff, without using a virtual private network that is authorized from that office. Once you set it up that way, even the staff cannot log into it with his own personal system. And you ensure that all the systems they use is actually from the office. Don't allow them to use their personal systems.
Yes, sir.
So
thank you very
yeah.
much, Mr.
So,
Solomon. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. So any other question?
Please, if you have not asking any question, you can put down your virtual hand. Thank you.
My Duguri hand is out and you didn't ask.
Yes.
Please go ahead, Meduguri.
Hello.
Okay, good morning.
Yes, go on.
Okay. Yeah, you talked about.
Hello, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, go on, I can hear you.
My question is about data security. Okay, in the situation whereby a system or a software that is being compromised, is there a way that one can sue the hacker, or is there probably a solution in the cloud?
Okay. If I heard you well, you said if a system is being compromised, is there a way to sue the hacker?
Yes, or is there probably a solution that one can follow up?
Well, like I said, if your system is compromised, the most important thing to you at that point is not going to look for hacker to sue. The most important thing to you at that point is to restore, get your data back. You understand? That's the most important thing, is to get your data back. Then you can make a report with the security agencies who will investigate and look for the hacker, which obviously 80% of the time they might never get the hacker. You understand? So the most important thing is to ensure that you follow certain procedures, so that even if you have data loss, the data will be useless to the hacker and you are able to recover back your system. Then check where the vulnerability came from and lock up that aspect and update your system and ensure that you're always up to date. That's the most important thing. When it comes to suing the hacker, it's a criminal offense to break into someone's system. You understand? So that's not your business. It's for the security agencies to go and locate that hacker, investigate, locate the hacker, and then probably prosecute the hacker. You understand? So that is not yours for your own business at that point. Yours, the most important thing to you at that point, when you have a data breach, is to ensure that you are able to restore your system back and make sure that you followed procedures so that the data is totally unreadable to the hacker and he cannot make use of it to use to blackmail your client. So that's the most important thing.
Thank you, Mr. Angie. We have a question on the chat. Can we have a checklist of the things to consider in setting up a cloud computing server?
Okay, maybe I'll drop a material for you.
Okay.
Where I will list them up and then just put a little explanation. But I think this is being recorded and I've said practically almost everything. So if you have a copy of the record, you should be able to hear, because I think I've said virtually most of them. You understand? But I may not have said them on an other platform, but when it comes to security, like I talked about the two-factor authentication, I talked about the encryption, I talked about the user authentication and authorization. I also talked about the, based on the question that was asked, setting up virtual private networks, VPN, that are strongly passworded, you understand, before you are able to access a company cloud platform, you understand, and other procedures too. When I mean strongly passworded, your password has to be extremely strong. At least you can have up to 20 characters, if possible, minimum of 16 characters, and it should be mixed with alphanumeric and then special characters. You can just mix them up like that so that it's almost impossible for someone to crack your password. You understand? Because there are softwares that they need like 1,000 attempts to be able to get your password. So, but when you make your password very long and make it alphanumeric put in special characters like that. It's almost impossible for those softwares to be able to predict your password. And then
we have
there are some
okay.
Okay, there are some platforms where there are some platforms where if you attempt to log in a certain number of times, automatically it cripples the login, and then it will request the administrator to reactivate, change the password, and it will even advise you if your password is not too strong to make it to set up a strong password. So go on with your question. Sorry.
Yeah, good morning. You did mention about the various security measures individual can take to protect themselves from being attacked or is data being accessed by hacker. What of the situation where this attack is perpetrated by an institution? For instance, Grafacon is an app designed by CIA that installed itself into one's system, and it functions by open section hijacking. And what basically does is that while you are online, they will still install the app into your system. When you are done and go off, the app will install itself and extract every information in your system back to the base. Now, how can one prevent oneself from being attacked? Because it's obvious that password, two-factor verification, and the traditional protection means will not help one. What is the way out?
Okay. You know, I said earlier, you understand, this systems being designed by the CIA to steal information, they are mostly malwares and bots, you understand, which are installed. Once it's installed, they install themselves without your authorization, without you granting access to them. So, like I said in the beginning, once you have certain anti-malwares installed on the system which you use to access these cloud platforms, the moment they notice that malware running under without authorization, they delete it and they notify you immediately. You understand? So it goes beyond the malware. The anti-malwares notice that they automatically attack it and delete it and remove it completely from your system. So that's the only thing you can do when it comes to that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. So any more question?
I think there's no one raising hands, so we can continue.
Okay. So basically, this is one of the most important aspects in terms of your cloud computing: security, avoid data theft, and ensure that you follow the right procedures. Because to an extent, outside what the providers of this cloud platform, what they've provided for you, you need to also follow these measures to avoid data breach. You understand? Because to an extent, when it comes to identity and access management, you understand? Identity simply means identifying those who have who are trying to log into your system or who can log into your system. And access management, when they access it, how do you manage their access to this data? So there should be different levels. Like I said, I'm repeating most of these things because these are very important things. These are things you need to follow. Access management is key. Who and who? Who and who? What can this person access? What can this one do? What trust level can we give to this one? You understand? That is what is called access management. So you need all these things, you understand, to safeguard and avoid unauthorized access. You understand? And just like we talked about, the encryption, protection of your data, you understand, it's very, 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 very important. Okay. So for now, I think I've outlined most of the key things we need to do in terms of security, you understand, to secure our platform. Okay. So we'll be moving to another section now, but I want someone to summarize everything we have said concerning security, like break it down for me so I know we have understood what I've said, and consider yourself to be a cloud computing consultant who has been hired by a company. Tell me the steps and the procedures you need to take to set up their systems, and how you can advise them to follow, to take certain measures to ensure that once the system is set up, their data is not compromised. So I need someone to tell me that.
Good morning, sir.
Morning.
Okay, so like you said when setting up cloud computing system, the data security and preservation is the most important aspect. You went ahead to list a number of things we can do. So the first thing you said was that we should ensure internal compromise. We are able to limit internal compromise, and you went ahead to tell us to use VPN, virtual private network, and then you said you shouldn't allow a worker to use their own private email to open an application and stuff. And then you went ahead to say that the server should always be open to updates, regular updates, so that whenever they notice vulnerability, they're able to update it on time. And then you said there should always be an installation of a strong anti-malware or antivirus to ensure the protection of your data. It has to be very, very strong. And then you went ahead to say that you should disable the USB box. You said they should, that it is advisable for them to disable the USB box. Then you went ahead to say that there should always be the two-factor verification or authentication, so that before anyone can have access to your system, there should be an OTP code or something that will be sent to someone else to ensure that this logging in is legal and is safe. And then you said that every form of data exchange should always be encrypted, so that when it's going through the pipe, any hacker that goes into your system will not be able to read it, will not be able to make any sense of it until it is decrypted by you or the server. And either way, it should always be encrypted. And then you said that there should always be regular backup of data, also known as mirroring, so that even if after all this protection, your data is still penetrated, you will always have a backup. You'll be safe, and the damages will not be so much. And then finally, you said that you should have a strong password, minimum of 16 characters, alphanumeric, special characters, capital letters, small letters, and it should just be really strong, so that before a hacker could go into your system, you would have tried so many times, and the system would notify you that there's someone trying to enter your system illegally, and you either change it or you make it more stronger. And that's about everything you said so far. Thank you.
We have Mr. Angie, we have a consultant in the house.
I'm telling you, like, amazing. But there's one question I have for you. You said I talked about disabling the USB port. I want to know, why did I say that? I said that for a reason. So tell me why.
Because most times the hacker could come in through the USB ports. If they can't come into your system, they could come into your USB ports. Yeah, that's all. That's all I know. Please enlighten me.
Yeah, you're actually right. But like I said most malwares and viruses are introduced via the USB port. So if you go to most big organizations, like for example, government agencies like Development Control, NIDA, and stuff, when you go to those places, you notice all their systems, the USB ports are not working. You understand? They disabled it because of the kind of information they store on those systems. So number one, even locally, disabling the USB port you understand, will protect this most of your clients from even local data theft. Someone can just come and put flash drive and copy steal certain information from that system. You understand? So these are the kind of recommendations you give to your client, like to avoid data theft or even introducing a virus to the system. Disable your USB port so it doesn't work completely at all. So they are not able to introduce a virus into the system, and they are not able to steal data, like quickly copy data using flash from your system. Kai, thank you so much. I'm really impressed. Thank you so much for your response. Any other person? Any other person?
I'm not sure we have any other person.
Oh, wow.
Maybe we
So that means
should
it's only one person that actually paid attention or really followed us during this last section. I think I need someone else to, even if it's one or two people, let someone say something.
Ikeja, are you trying to summarize?
Listen.
Okay. Ikeja is raising their hands. Please go ahead, sir.
When you have an email, not one person should have access to that email. Nobody, and not one person is authorized to change the password. That information will pass around to those that have access to that particular email that hold the necessary information for the company. That is in addition to what the lady said.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't really get you. I think the network was really, I don't know.
In addition to what the lady said, you said that the email that contained information necessary for that particular organization must be shared with so many people so that nobody will hold the company ransom. Like the example you gave somebody that you run away with the company and it's demanding for a large amount of money. But if so many people have access to that email, you will not be able to do that. That is in addition to what the lady said.
Okay. So one final person before we move, we just do a recap.
Fuyo is raising hand.
Yes.
Okay, you go on.
Yes, to neatly summarize what the lady in Calabar said, which encompassed everything, is to set security in layers so that there'll be checks and balances. So that at the end of the day, one level is checking another level is checking that level. So that you don't have a breach in security without having some type of intrusion prevention strategy in place. And I think having your USB ports shut down, having your roles and access control lists in place, I think that will really help to decentralize the security and make sure that no one entity can just bamboozle in and out without any checks and balances being able to stop the intrusion. I think that's my own way of summarizing what the lady said really quickly.
Okay, great.
We have American Center, Lagos. Please, you can go ahead.
All right, good morning, sir. Well, from the first class, we were told that there are different sections in cloud computing. We want to take it as a career. So for cloud architecturing, engineering, administration, if I'm a beginner, which would you advise for me to start with? I can't just popping into engineering. Now, I wouldn't know how vast is it. So which one is more advisable for a beginner, yeah, to thrive in and would be more lucrative?
Yeah, I'm moving into that immediately after this. So I want us to just talk security for now. The next round of our lecture is on the careers in cloud computing. So I will discuss all that. So for now, I just want to know that this section, everyone really understands. And then once I'm clear on that, we move to the next section, which is careers in cloud computing. So I'll explain the architect, the engineer, the security specialist, and others too. So if there's no more any hand raised or anyone who has anything to say, there's no one, then we'll just do a recap. Like I said, I've talked about security. It is the most pivotal aspect in terms of setting up your cloud computing platform to ensure you don't lose your data. You understand? So I discussed a lot of mechanisms concerning that, which I talked about the encryption of data. I talked about two-factor authentication. And then I also talked about user access management. You're able to manage, like identify and manage access to your platform. You understand? And then I talked about the client system that will be accessing your cloud server should have updated anti-malware systems where they're able to detect certain viruses and malwares and then eliminate them completely from your system. You understand? And there are certain things you also do. You understand? There are certain things you can also do. Like, for example, when you have an anti-malware, most of the times you don't wait for it to actually detect these malwares for you or these viruses for you. You understand? You do this, you scan frequently. You understand? Maybe at the close of every working day, you can do a malware scan to be able to detect, especially when you notice like an abnormality on your system. You can always do the frequent scan, like at the close of work. You can just scan the system to be sure that if there's any malware or any virus, it will be eliminated. So just like if you observe, like sometimes when there's a virus or malware on your system, you notice the way your files, it changes the shape of your files. And then you notice there's this increased server resources usage. When you check, you notice that your system is just moving or running unexpectedly. And then where your system automatically just becomes slow for no particular reason, you know that there's something has infected your system. Like there's a malware or there's a virus. So you always ensure you have this updated anti-malware and antivirus on your system. So that as soon as these things come in, it's either it picks it on its own and eliminates it, or when you do your routine scan, it's able to identify and then remove these files completely. You understand? And then in our last lecture, I talked about audit trailing, like you're able to audit everything that goes on your server. There's a log. If you check in our last, when I talked a bit about security, I talked about logging. Everything that happens on that server is being logged. So if there's a problem, you can easily identify where the problem is coming from. You understand? Because you go to your log, you can see second by second, everything, who logged in, who deleted a file, who transferred this file, who did this, everything is logged. So there you can actually ensure that you're able to pick out anything that goes wrong. You can actually identify where the issue is coming from. And then we also talked about having your system to update itself, because the owners, people who own this platform, mostly they run vulnerability tests on their platform. And when they notice any vulnerability, they update their software. So you also have to ensure that you don't disable automatic updates. You enable it so that it's able to have these updated security features to avoid data breach and other stuff. So I think basically those are just the main things. And then we talked about, I think we talked about the two-factor authentication. We talked about role-based access, that's access level management and stuff. And then I talked about strong password policy or strong passwords, where you should have at least 20 characters, alphanumeric to special characters and stuff. There are softwares that can guess your password. But when it's very long and complex, it's almost impossible for them to do that. And then I also talked about data backup and recovery. You understand? Those are key things you need to have just in case your data is compromised. You're able to get the backup and then you're able to recover your systems. So I think with that recap, we can now move to another section. So if there's no question, I'll move straight to careers in cloud computing. So the essence of acquiring knowledge is, number one, to become very productive, not just yourself, even your society. You understand? One of the ways to fight poverty is skill acquisition. You understand? When you have certain skills, you have the capacity to do certain things. You can actually use that to become, as in to sustain yourself. You understand? Without even going about to look for jobs. Once you have these skills, you understand? Once you are equipped with these skills, you can actually really, really prosper. You understand? So there are several opportunities, like job opportunities in terms of cloud computing. You understand? So I'll just outline most of them for you, and then you see if it's something you can actually do or still grow in your knowledge. This is just the beginning. You understand? There's still more to what we're doing. You understand? So one of the first opportunity is to become a cloud administrator. So for cloud administrators, you're able to manage, let's say, for example, you have a client, you are able to manage, let's say, a company's cloud presence and their infrastructure. You understand? So as an administrator, that is basically what you do. You develop, you enforce, and update policies for how their employees and users access these cloud services. You understand? You also establish security protocols and policies. You monitor and ensure uptime and access the need for technology updates or software updates, like I said. You understand? So being a cloud administrator, you are an all-rounder. You are the one managing that cloud server in terms of their presence and the infrastructure. You understand? You're the one, if there's a need for the system to be upgraded, it is your responsibility. For example, if you have so many users on the platform and if you have not enabled automatic updates, like for the system to update itself, like if you have so many users, the system, the load should balance, like upgrade itself for it to accommodate the number of users. You understand? If you've not done that, automatically, it is your responsibility to manually do that. So as a cloud administrator, it is your responsibility to manage your organization's presence and infrastructure. You're the one to develop and enforce update policies on how employees and users access their services. So you, as the administrator, if you notice a certain staff is not complying with the policies and provisions which you have set, it is your responsibility to handle that. You understand? Because you are the one to develop, enforce, and update all the policies on how security employees and users can access your services. You're the one to set up security protocols. You're the one to set up certain measures, you understand, to avoid data loss and everything. So you are the all-rounder. You understand? So it's a very, very good career opportunity. So if you're going to be a cloud administrator, you're going to know how to manage a cloud server. You're going to understand the infrastructure. You're going to understand the right configuration based on the purpose of that server, because that's one of the key in setting up your cloud server, the right configuration. So you don't go and set up what is less than what is supposed to accommodate, and then the server keeps crashing or going down or is slow or cannot accommodate the volume of resources that is being uploaded on it. So you need to understand the things for you to be able to set up that infrastructure. You understand? You're the one to come to create policies and enforce them. It's not just creating. You create and say, see, if you don't have a VPN, if you don't have this, you'll be knocked off the platform. You understand? So you are the one to develop, you are the one to enforce, and then updates too, and access level. You're the one to provision the company staff or users. Oh, this is what based on management approval, this person has access to this person has access to this person has access to this, and this one has access to this. You understand? So that is your responsibility as a cloud administrator, and make sure you're up to date in terms of the security protocols, policies. You're monitoring the system. You make sure the system, there's always downtime on the system. Because as soon as there's a downtime, you're able to rectify it immediately. Not somebody call you and say, we cannot access the platform, or that the platform is down, is this, is that. You understand? So you have to ensure that you consistently are monitoring the system. So as soon as there's a downtime, it is rectified and the system comes up. So you're going to ensure at least 99.9 uptime. Because if you're a cloud administrator and users are having issues with accessing your platform, every time the com is down, you will lose your job. So these are the things you need to follow. You understand? These procedures. So it is key. A cloud administrator is like an all-rounder. And it's a very, 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 very good career, this thing to follow. And they pay very well. You understand? They have a very good salary range. If you are able to get a job, a remote job or something, you earn thousands of dollars for that, like to be a cloud administrator and stuff. You are working remotely, you earn thousands of dollars monthly for that. So that's number one, cloud administrator. Number two, a cloud support engineer. Now, anywhere you have technology or you have any technology, basically, there will always be challenges and problems that will arise. That's why even if you see an aircraft, there's always a flight engineer inside, just in case one of the engine is making noise outside a normal thing. The engineer is able to, right on the aircraft, can go there, spot what is wrong, and tell the pilot what and what to do. You understand? So a cloud support engineer, it's someone that supports and troubleshoots anytime, let's say, for example, there's a challenge with a cloud platform. His job is to ensure, troubleshoot, find out what the problem is, and then proffer solutions. So that is another very good career that pays very, very well. Everywhere you have technology, challenges and problems will always occur. So you always need to have a support engineer by the side who can always identify problems, troubleshoot them, and fix them. The third one is a cloud security analyst. You understand? The job of the security analyst is, it takes responsibility for ensuring the integrity and security of the company cloud presence, whichever organization that employs you. Your own job is to ensure the integrity and security. You understand? So you do all this by accessing threats, and setting up defenses against them, preventing data breaches, securing data, and eliminating security gaps if a breach occurs. Now, I said all these things when we were talking about security. So now, as a cloud security analyst, you must ensure the integrity, that's the safety and the security of the organization that employed you, their cloud presence. You must do this by assessing threats. You don't wait for the threats to come. Like I told you, most of these organizations do vulnerability testing. They don't wait for the hackers to threaten them. They do vulnerability testing. You understand? That way, they're able to access and say, there is a loophole here, or there's a challenge here, this and that. You understand? Then, once they're able to see these vulnerabilities, they set up defenses against them. And then, to prevent data breaches, you have to ensure you secure data and then eliminate gaps if a breach occurs. If there's a data breach, no matter how you do, there might be a data breach, you understand? But ensure you have a backup so that you can always restore the system back and then identify where that breach came from and then close that gap. You understand? So that is a very good career and it pays very, very, very well. In fact, when it comes to cloud computing, that is one of the highest paying area. Why? Because companies always hire cloud security analysts because they don't want any issues with their data. They want to ensure that their data is safe and secured. So they always hire cloud security analysts and they pay them very well because the security, the safety of the information they have on their platform is dependent on these people. So they don't joke with them. They pay them very well and they always have hired them. You understand? So the next career is a cloud network engineer. So basically, what you do, let's say, for example, when you say IT professionals design and maintain an organization's cloud services across networks in a certain division or even for the entire company. So being a cloud network engineer, you're going to manage because most organizations have multiple, let's say, how do I put it? They have multiple the offices or they have different offices in different locations. You understand? So your job as a network engineer is to be able to ensure and manage how these different points communicate based on what you have set up and how they're able to synchronize and share data. Then the next one is cloud software engineer. You understand? So basically, as a cloud software engineer, you basically work with programmers, you understand, to develop software that operates in the cloud. So that's basically what you just do. You work with programmers, and then you guys can build softwares that operate in the cloud. So basically, your job is like you're responsible for upgrading, repairing, and maintaining software that you develop and database that it powers. So basically, that is just your job. You work with programmers to develop softwares that actually operate in the cloud. And you're also responsible for upgrading those softwares, repairing them if there's an issue, and maintaining the software you develop and the database this software powers. So there are other careers too, but I think for now, these are the basic ones, but we can still go further with others. But I don't know if there's any question.
Sir, please, can you elaborate on cloud software engineers?
Okay. When you talk about a software, basically a software is just an application that is built by a programmer. You understand? So there are certain places programmers don't just work. before they're able to build applications for such places, they need someone who is a specialist in that particular field, like a software developer now that is designing a software for a hospital. You need a doctor or someone to guide you on in terms of the workflow and the processes in that particular organization, or someone who understands that. You understand? So the cloud software engineer, all they do, they work with programmers, that software developers. You understand? To develop software that works in the cloud, because they understand the cloud platform better. So they're able to work with these programmers to guide them and say, oh, this and this software, let's design it this way and deploy it to the cloud. And these people are, and you're also responsible, because every software that is deployed on the cloud must have updates. You need to have updates. So it is the responsibility of the cloud software engineer to upgrade or update these softwares, to repair them. If there's a challenge with the software, he goes back to the programmer and say, oh, this particular part is not running. The programmer will fix it, and it is the responsibility of the cloud software engineer to go back and update it after it's been repaired, and to maintain the softwares to ensure they are all working optimally. So that's basically the job of the cloud software engineer.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, so quick one. I want to take you outside this particular topic that we're doing. I just wanted some clarification on something. Yes, when you look at service structure as a service,
yes,
software as a service. Software as a service, you find out that most of those things are actually provided. Why do I need a cloud engineer, software engineer, and all that, when I can easily log in into that particular platform and do my, and be able to store my data and, work on that particular server? That is one. Then secondly, when you are mentioning all these career paths that people can actually follow, I found out that as a beginner, there is what we call cloud practitioner, cloud certified cloud practitioner, because I think that is the first thing that needs to come, because I think the thing is actually broken down into various stages. We have the associate. From the practitioner, you have the associate, you have the professional, then you have the specialty. So from being a cloud practitioner, you are looking at probably being an architect, then probably an administrator, then probably, so we were actually expecting, something in that, like people that really don't have they are not savvy in IT and wanted to go into this cloud computing stuff. So where are they supposed to start from? So like an entry level. So that is what we're actually expecting. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you. So, like you said, most of this software is actually installed. So why would you need a cloud software engineer? When it comes to usage, what company A and company B, what most of them might want to do on this platform are completely different. What company A wants to do may have all this stuff installed and set up for them. But company B, they may have certain things, requirements that they need extra software to be able to achieve. So that is where you need a cloud software engineer to come in. For person A, everything is set up for them. Then for person B, they might need extra. Because I've had situations where I was working on a project and we needed extra software based on the platform we were using to be deployed on our cloud server for us. You understand? So I needed extra software for that. So I had to make that request, because the platform was really, really restrictive in a way, because it was a government agency. So I needed to make that extra request that I needed this extra platform or software to be installed for me to be able to set up what I want. You understand? So the need of person A and B might be completely different. So, and at that point, a cloud software engineer who works in that particular office was called in to do that setup for me. You understand? So that is where you need a cloud software engineer. For others, everything is set up. They just go ahead and use and stuff. But for others, they need more customization. Just like some people who order certain cars and they're able to use those cars. But others, they order that same car and they request for extra customization for those cars. You understand? So it's the same thing as this platform. Then you talked about different levels of practitioner and stuff. Yeah, it depends on you. You understand? You can choose to start from level 1 or you can choose to start from level 5, depending on your level of proficiency. Like I said, when you're going into careers, you look at this career and say, oh, I need to study more to be able to qualify for this particular task. So all those things are levels of certification that can qualify you for certain levels of your career in cloud computing. But I tell you, everything is dependent on you. You can choose to start from level 1 or you can choose to start from level 6, depending on the skills you have. If I have the skills to become a cloud security analyst, why wouldn't I go for that? I don't need, it's not compulsory for you to say, oh, you must start from level 1. It's not a government appointment that you must start from level 1 to 5 to 6 to 7 to 8. You understand? Everything is dependent on your ability and the capacity to deliver certain things. Nobody's holding you to say, oh, you must start as a practitioner or you must start as a novice. Or no. You may choose to do it that way, but I tell you, you understand, when it comes into the field, of computing, the position you occupy is dependent on the skills you have. Not, oh, because you're just learning for the first time means you have to be a novice. No. If I'm learning for the first time and within the next 1 week, I'm interested, let me tell you, this field is actually dependent on, let me say, interest. You understand? There's something that must drive you. Some people might leave this program now and never go back to it. Meanwhile, others might decide to even go and pay and study more in terms of concerning cloud computing and build their capacity more, you understand, and get more qualified, you understand. So when you have these skills, I tell you, once you see these careers, these jobs, they advertise them, when you see them and you see you can manage a cloud server, you can implement security protocols, you can have access management and stuff, there's nothing stopping you for applying for most of these positions. That is just the truth. It is skill-based. It is not, I just started or your level-based. No, it is skill-based. If within 1 week, you can have the skills that someone who has studied for 2 years has, I tell you, I know there's a guy, it's a very young, he just finished secondary school. He's a very good programmer, but I tell you, he works remotely for big companies that even me, I've never had access to in Italy and other companies. You understand? He just started and he's so good. You understand? He just started and he's so good. So you will not say, oh, because he just started as a programmer, you should put him as a novice. No, his skill level is so high. And what do? He got very good, like he's been placed on a very high level. You understand? So it's not whether you started today or started yesterday. It's about the skills you have and your ability to deploy them efficiently for your clients. So these are opportunities. These are career opportunities. Don't see yourself as, oh, you just started some weeks back and you're not qualified for this. No. That's not what we're doing. When it comes to technology, your level of promotion is skill-based. It's not time-based. It's skill-based, not time-based. Not I started yesterday or last week. It is skill-based. If you build your skills, you're able to handle the security infrastructure of a cloud server efficiently. You study more. You acquire certain certifications concerning that. There's nothing stopping you from applying as a cloud security analyst. It is not because you started 2 or 3 weeks ago, but you have the necessary skills and you can actually deliver. So when it comes to technology, programming, cloud computing, your career, your promotion is not time-based. It is skill-based. The higher your skills, the higher you go and the bigger opportunities you can take. So thank you. I can see Ikeja. I can see Ibadan. So Ikeja.
Thank you very much, Angie.
question dovetail to what the other speaker have just said. We are saying that we can do security analysis thereabout, but what are the requirements? Because I'm not very sure that if you are not good in some certain subjects, you might not be able to work. You are not able to do like a support engineer. I used to work for a telecoms company, and all these things they taught us. I was just taking do GPS engineering those days when I move up the ladder to another department. But now I'm just doing like a refresher course because I know there are some people that have been designed to work. Maybe your first degree is in maybe you have electronic engineering or you're a mechanical engineer. Are you saying that does not mean? Because I overheard you saying that somebody, a secondary school leaver, is earning so well, it depends on the skill. Because I know that's a basis. Because if you don't have the knowledge, I'm very sure you might not be able to go well in this. I just need some clarification. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Let me come in here. You see, when it comes to technology, like I said, it is skill-based, and there are certain fields in technology where you have steps. You have step 1, you have step 2, and step 3. And cloud computing and programming or software development, they don't fall into that aspect. If we're discussing networking, yes, that is one we discuss. Before you do CCNP, you must be certified. You must have CCNA and stuff. You understand? That is when it comes to networking. You understand? Those are fields that have, for you to be certified, you must follow certain, you must be CCNA, CCNP, like that gradually before you move up the ladder to be qualified in managing certain things. You understand? But I tell you, when it comes to cloud computing and it comes to securing systems, mostly what they just require from you is just the basic knowledge of computing. Oh, I know how to operate a computer, and that's all. Every other aspect, because part of certifying you to become let's say, for example, a cloud security specialist, everything concerning cloud computing, you'll be taught. So you don't need a prerequisite. Like, you don't need certain prerequisite knowledge to be able to acquire these skills. You can choose, for example, to become a cloud security analyst. You don't really, let's say, for example, you decide to go for, there's a course called ethical hacking. There's no prerequisite for ethical hacking. And it's one of the most advanced security courses where you learn things like penetration, vulnerabilities, network hacking, and everything. You learn all those things. There's no prerequisite. All you just need to know is how to use a computer. That's all. Once you know how to use a computer, these courses are designed to start you from the level of a novice or a beginner to become a professional. That is how these courses are designed. So by the time you do your ethical hacking program, let's say for 14 days, or sorry, for 10 working days, 10 days strictly, they take you from the level of a novice who knows nothing completely to a professional. Within 2 weeks, their curriculum is designed for someone who has absolutely zero knowledge of security when it comes to computing. They take you through networks. They teach you virtually everything from the first week. Then the next week, they introduce you into the advanced aspects of these things. So like I said, certain aspects of computing, like programming. In fact, you can choose to become a mobile application developer. That's where you can develop mobile applications within a space of 3 weeks, from zero to become a master. Or it depends on your level of interest, commitment, your level of determination, and the efforts you put into it, because it requires a lot. I have courses where you can start from zero knowledge in, you don't need any knowledge in programming. You don't even need to know how it works. But because mobile application development is actually a difficult side when it comes to programming. It's web development. It's not as difficult, not really difficult, as mobile application development. You understand? It's not as complex or technical, though it has its own challenges. But you can start from week 1, week 2, week 3. Week 1, you're a novice. You know nothing about programming. You are introduced. Within 4 to 5 weeks, you can become a professional. Or it's dependent on how you are able to assimilate these skills, acquire them, your level of commitment and determination, and your motivation and desire to really achieve with it. So that is the thing. Not every aspect of computing has these prerequisites. When you go to the networking side of it, oh yes, there are prerequisites. You cannot be a CCNP without being a CCNA. So you follow these steps before you get to the highest level of networking. But when it comes to cloud computing, you really don't have any prerequisite. You can just decide to become a cloud security analyst. You can just go for the course. There's no prerequisite. You start from 0 to become a professional. So that's how it works. So it's skill-based, not time-based, like maybe, for example, let's say networking, where you take like 2 months or 1 month to do CCNA, you finish that, you move to CMP like that, those steps, you understand? So when it comes to careers in cloud computing, I tell you, even within 1 week, 2 weeks, it depends on how committed and how you want it. You can push yourself and acquire the highest level of skills in this and apply for very, very, because today, what is trending more is remote jobs. A lot of Nigerians sit at home and make more than $3,000 to $4,000 to $5,000 every month. A lot of Nigerians do that. I do that too. I do a lot of remote jobs. I have clients everywhere. You understand? So what these clients basically look for is your skill. Can you do this? And sometimes they may just require a small level of experience. Sometimes they say 6 months, 1 year, depending on the complexity of the job. You understand? But when you have the right skills, and then you're able to submit a detailed CV, this is what and what you do, what you can do, this is it. They call you for interview. A specialist will interview you. Once you are able to prove to that specialist, based on the questions they will ask you, because most of these foreign companies, all they look out for is, can you deliver skill? If you like have a PhD in this, they interview you and they're not comfortable with your answer. I tell you, and then they interview someone that has WAEC or SSC and who is highly skilled. They will pick that person that has SSC. They work based strictly on skills. Once you're able to deliver, you know the system, you can manage the system, you can handle the security protocols. That's all. That's all they need from you. They don't need any other thing. You understand? So most fields in computing actually don't have prerequisite. Their prerequisite is you know how to use a computer system. That's all. The rest, they designed most of the curriculum to guide you from a novice to that of becoming a professional. Thank you. Ibadan.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning. I can hear you.
Okay, thank you very much. So I think I have about 3 questions, but I'll just start with the first. I would like to know what's the difference between cyber security and the cloud security you've been talking about?
Okay.
Okay, should I just go on with all the questions?
Yes, go on. I'm writing them down.
Okay. So then in the course of your explanation now, especially talking about cloud security analysis, you said most of these things don't need prerequisites, just go for the course. So I wanted to ask where, just go for the course, how, like where? And also you mentioned ethical hacking, like is a course. Where do we go for it? Like how do we find it? I don't know what's the right English to use for that. And also, one of the questions I also wanted to ask is, when do we get a job? And what I meant by that is, like, where do you skill up to? and then you can now start getting a job? And how do you go about job seeking at the initial stage? How do you go about the job seeking? Because like you said, some of these other jobs just need experience, not maybe like just 6 months. Just how do you get those 3 months experience, 6 months experience? How do you get that? That's the question. Thank you.
Okay. So when you talk about cybersecurity and cloud computing, security in terms of cloud computing, when you talk about security in terms of cloud computing, it's just like how do I put it? When you're, instead of setting up a private data center for your client, you're going to the cloud to get this infrastructure remotely and do the same thing. You understand? So it's just basically securing the infrastructure you have acquired remotely or online for your client. That's just basically it. And then because you're deploying data, you're deploying company information, you need to set up so many security protocols. You understand? So to an extent, I'm just trying to use the right word for you to understand. Like cloud computing, basically, when it comes to security, it is a private and a personalized thing. You understand? It is more like you are setting up a server, like an infrastructure or something for your client remotely. So it is the security protocols and policies which you implement in terms of access level, password policies and stuff. And you know, these things are basically personalized for, let's say, a particular organization. You understand? So when you talk about a cloud security analyst, basically that is what you just do. You just work for an organization. You understand? You just work for an organization. But when it comes to cybersecurity, it's more like defending the cyberspace, which is basically computers, servers, mobile devices, electronic systems, and stuff like that. Like, for example, if you go to most advanced countries, everything there is digitized. Everything, even the aircraft that flies, everything, both the trains and stuff like that. So when it comes to cybersecurity, it's defending the servers and the systems, everything, the electronic systems that control most of these institutions. You understand? So cybersecurity is more like a wider angle or a wider aspect of let's say, security in terms of computing. You understand? If you go out there, it's not like maybe in our country today where most things are still being done in a manual way. You understand? If you go out there where they have automated systems, if you go abroad, everything is automated. All their systems, from the water pumping company down to every organization out there, their processes are all automated. You understand? So being a cyber security specialist, your job is to protect and defend these servers. It's a lot of work. You understand? It's a lot of work. Defending these electronic systems, networks, and stuff from malicious attacks and stuff. So they're actually they're almost the same thing, but cybersecurity is more of like in the bigger cyberspace. Cloud computing is more, cloud security analysis is more of like you're setting up an infrastructure. Your job is just to secure that particular infrastructure. That's all. So you asked the question, where do you go for courses? Well, you can choose to, there are companies that offer these courses, you understand, but a lot of them are just out there to make money. So when searching for these courses, you have to be very careful. So you don't go and meet a roadside company. At the end of the day, you end up learning nothing. You understand? There's this organization called the e-Council, where you can actually study ethical hacking. For example, in India, you understand, it's quite expensive. but you can actually go there. I think their course is just for 2 to 3 weeks. So you can choose to study in their center in India or Dubai, or I think they have one in Egypt or something. So you can choose to study there. As a novice, all you just need to do is just the basic knowledge of computing. That's all. By the time you go there, you start as a novice, they guide you, they teach you, they have their manual, you can follow their manual and see all the courses they take. So from there, you can follow up and they can bring you up from a novice down to become a professional and a certified ethical hacker. You understand? Being an ethical hacker is you have the capacity to work for organizations in terms of you are able to check their vulnerabilities, check their systems, ensure that no gap is left. That's the job of an ethical hacker, which simply means for you to be able to protect a system from being hacked, that means you need to have a knowledge of how to hack those systems. So by the time you try every form of vulnerability test and the system is still standing, then it's good. But by the time you try vulnerability test and the system collapses, then it's up to you to now come up with security measures to seal those gaps. You understand? That's the job of an ethical hacker. And having that knowledge is very good in terms of when you drag it down to cloud computing and become a security analyst, you already understand and know how certain security measures to implement. So you'll be a very good fit to become a cloud security specialist. Sorry, I missed your third question. I don't know if you can really repeat it again. I'm sorry.
Ibadan.
Okay, thank you, sir. The third question said, you said some of these remote jobs, they can require as low as 6 months experience. And so I said, where do we get 6 months experience? Where can we acquire 3 months, 6 months experience? And when do we get a job? Like how much skill do you get and you are ready for a job? How do you go about getting a job so that you can now get 3 months, 6 months experience or any form of experience?
Okay. You know, when you acquire the skills, sometimes what most people do for you to be able to practice this, you can actually practice it on your own. You understand? And it can be considered as being experienced in it. Or you can decide to volunteer for organizations. Or if you're able to get smaller jobs where you are able to put this skill into practice. That is how you build your experience. Either you do it freelancing on your own, you set up a server, deploy data, do the configuration yourself, or you choose to work with smaller organizations. Either you work with them for free as a volunteer, or if they decide to pay you, but all you're just trying to get is that experience, being in that working environment. You want to set up, you want this thing, see how this and this works. And most organizations today, even if you're not able to get a paid job, most organizations allow volunteers like, oh, please, I want to work with you. I have this skill. I just want to build on my experience. Can I just volunteer if you're not ready to pay like that? That way you're able to get more experience so that when you have worked in a real life organization and environment, and then you feel you have acquired enough skill to now apply for these remote jobs. Maybe after you've worked for certain weeks, months, some don't ask for years of experience. They just put, you should be able to, on their terms of reference, they just say, you should be able to do this, do this, do this, do this, do this. And if you've practiced or volunteered with an organization for even 1 week, and you feel you have that level of experience, then there's nothing stopping you from applying for those remote jobs. After a while, once they call you, mostly they just call you for interview. And once you're able to prove yourself, because that's the main part of their recruitment process, the interview, because the specialists that will talk to you real time. And then you're able to, they ask a lot of questions. And once you're able to score above 80, 90, because they trust me, when it comes to remote jobs, they go for the best of the best. That's why I said, all you need is to be highly skilled in what you're doing. You must score very, very high. because they go for the best of the best. And once you're able to prove to them beyond doubt, that's all. So, any other question?
I think that's the best way to end this session today. We want to put a stop. Please, can we just put our hands together? Everybody, jam your hand. Jam your hand, jam your hand, jam your hand, jam your hand, jam your hand. Sincerely, I think you will agree with me that this has been one of the most productive sessions that we've had this year, not just for this session, not just for this course, but for this year. Solomon, we're very grateful. Even though we can't see, we only see your forehead. Can we see your face?
Okay.
I think we all want to see his face, Abby.
Okay, I think you should be able to see me now.
All right, so we can see you now. Let me just capture it.
Okay.
Just 1 minute. Aha. No, the thing has gone again.
Okay, you should be able to see me.
Yes, I've gotten you now. Can we all switch on our video? Everybody switch off your video because we want to capture the whole space. Everybody switch on your video. Put on your video, everybody, quickly, 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 quickly. Switch on your video. Quick, 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 quick. We're going 1, 2. Let's be quick, let's be quick, let's be quick. Benicity, you have switched it off again. Quickly, 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 quickly. Is that all? All right. Take it. All right. Thank you, everybody. We are so happy. I'm very, very happy. Solomon, I can't overemphasize this, that we really enjoy this session. And I believe every other person do. And I know very well that this is going to take somebody out of unemployment. And you have envisioned so many of our young people, you can see them. And the beauty of this again is that many of these, people who are watching you are going to talk to somebody and talk to somebody, and they are going to watch and keep watching this video. And over time, a lot of people, things are going to beginning to happen to them. So we want to thank you, everyone. You can see they're all over the country. And
yes.
And this is really, really inspiring. So thank you, everybody. Thank you very much. We're so grateful. We also would like to remind you, this afternoon, we're having the last session on this essential entrepreneurship. And I'm telling you, this time around, you cannot miss it. So I encourage you to please come and let's have a wonderful time today. Like I explained, by next year, we'll have all these videos compiled on a YouTube channel. And you will be able to go back and watch this over and over and over and over again. And what we are planning is this. Those who will watch this again, let me not even let it out. So keep coming, we'll let you know. So once again, Solomon, we appreciate you. Can we clap our hands again for him? I'm seriously happy. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you very much. We're very grateful. Abuja, why are you raising your hand up? Abuja, why are you holding us down?
It's been an interesting course so far, but I would like you to share the email address and also to spell out the name of the Indian company you mentioned where we can get more certification. Thank you.
Did you hear the question?
Sorry, come again. You said I should share my email address.
I would like you to share your email address because some of
Okay.
us would like to reach out to you. Then secondly, I would like you to e-consult or something where we can get further experience for the.
Okay.
You know, anytime anybody comes on this platform and they enjoyed it, you always ask people, I need your email, and then where can we meet with you, and so on and so forth. If you want to, you are free. What we've done in the past is some people have given their email addresses. Some also have given like their Instagram handle and Twitter handle, Facebook, so that you can DM them and take it up from there. Because we don't want to give your personal details online and you are bombarded and over bombarded. So whichever one you are comfortable with, please, you can set it on the chat.
Yeah.
Okay, it's already
So I've
there.
posted my email on the chat, so you can just email me if you need more.
SolomonAnjah@gmail.com. So thank you very much. I think you can all get it now. Solomon Anja Angie. Well, it looks like Hanga. I was wondering when I saw that name. Anyway, thank you very much at gmail.com. All right, everyone. We want to appreciate you once again and say thank you. Bye-bye to you. Hoping to see you in the afternoon. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.